She was just a mother, trying to give her children a better life. But in the town where they hoped for peace, they found only hate. Doors painted with threats, nights filled with fear, and a system that turned its back. This is not just Angela's story. This is the story of every family who has ever been judged, not by their hearts, but by the color of their skin. And today, you will hear how hate tried to destroy them, but how love refused to die. You are watching Humanity First, a channel where we share true stories that touch the heart and remind us what really matters: humanity. If you believe in equality, love, and justice, then don't forget to subscribe and join our community. Together we can make sure humanity always comes first. America is called the land of dreams, but for some, that dream is fragile. A promise written on paper, but erased in reality. This is the story of Angela Williams, a black woman, a mother, a fighter. She wasn't rich, she wasn't famous, she was ordinary. And yet her life would reveal something extraordinary: the strength of love in the face of hate. Angela had lost her husband years earlier in a tragic accident. She never had time to grieve. She worked day and night to provide for her 2 children, Marcus, just 14, with big dreams of becoming a lawyer, and Jasmine, only 8, full of innocence, who loved to draw rainbows with her crayons. Angela's life was exhausting. Days at the local diner, serving coffee and food to people who barely noticed her. Nights spent cleaning offices, the smell of disinfectant staining her clothes. Her hands were always tired, her body always sore, but her heart was full of determination. For years, she lived in a cramped apartment in a rough neighborhood. She had seen too much violence, too many broken promises, so she saved every penny. Every extra shift, every sleepless night was for one goal: to give her children a better life. And at last, the day came. Angela moved her family into a small town with neat houses, trimmed lawns, and a school district everyone praised. For the first time in years, she felt hope. She told Marcus and Jasmine, "This is our fresh start. Here, you'll have the chance I never had." But what Angela didn't know was that the town had its own rules, unspoken but clear, and families like hers were not welcome. On the very first day, she noticed it. At the grocery store, people stared longer than necessary. Neighbors smiled politely, but with eyes that said, "Stay away." When she tried to wave hello, doors quietly closed. Angela brushed it off. "We don't need their approval," she told herself. "We just need a chance." But the real test began with her children. On Marcus's first day at school, he walked in holding his backpack tightly, shoulders back, ready to make friends. But within hours, the whispers started. "That's the new black kid. He doesn't belong here." A boy sneered at him in the cafeteria. "Why don't you go back to the city?" In the weeks that followed, Angela tried to ignore the tension. She smiled at her neighbors even when they looked through her, kept working double shifts, and told her children to focus on school. But prejudice is like a shadow. You can't outrun it. And soon, the shadow grew darker. At the diner where Angela worked, the hostility became more open. One morning, a group of regulars sat at the counter. Angela poured their coffee, careful and polite. But one of them pushed the cup back, sneering, "Don't touch my drink. I don't want your germs." The laughter that followed burned like fire in Angela's chest. She wanted to shout, to scream, but she needed this job. She swallowed the insult and walked away, her hands trembling. That evening, she came home and forced a smile for Marcus and Jasmine. She never told them what happened, but Marcus could see the weariness in her eyes. At school, things were getting worse for him too. In history class, when he raised his hand to answer, some boys at the back mimicked him, mocking his voice. In the locker room, whispers followed him. "Watch your stuff. He might steal it." Marcus clenched his fists but kept walking. He remembered his father's words, passed on by his mother. Never give them a reason to say you're dangerous. They already believe it. But it was Jasmine who struggled the most. She stopped drawing her rainbows. One day, Angela found her little girl ripping pages out of her notebook, crying. "They call me ugly, Mama. They say my skin looks dirty. They don't like my hair." Angela wrapped Jasmine in her arms, tears streaming down her own face, and, "Baby, your hair is a crown. Your skin is a blessing. Don't you ever let them tell you otherwise." Still, the hatred outside their home continued to rise. One Friday night, Angela returned from her second job. She stopped in her tracks as her headlights illuminated the front of her house. Her stomach dropped. Across the white paint of her front door, in large black letters, were the words, "Go back where you came from." Angela's knees nearly buckled. She rushed her children inside before they could see, but Marcus had already read it. His fists shook, his eyes wet with rage. "Mama, why did they hate us? What did we do?" Angela couldn't answer. She cleaned the door herself, scrubbing until her hands blistered. Each stroke of the sponge felt like a battle against a world that refused to see their humanity. But the vandals weren't finished. A week later, as the family slept, the sound of glass shattering jolted them awake. Angela ran to the living room and found a brick on the floor, shards of glass everywhere. Beside it, a note, "Leave before it gets worse." Jasmine screamed. Marcus ran to his mother, furious. "We can't let them do this. We have to fight back." Angela held his shoulders, her voice trembling. "No, Marcus. They want us to fight. They want us to break. If we give in, they win." But deep inside, even Angela was scared. She started double-checking the locks every night, sleeping with one ear open, praying for morning to come safely. The town they thought would be a refuge had become a battlefield. Every day, every moment was a test of their endurance. And yet, through it all, Angela carried herself with quiet strength. She cooked dinner, she helped Jasmine with her homework, she encouraged Marcus to keep reading his law books. She told them over and over, "Don't let their hate define you. You are more than this." But the hatred was closing in, like a storm building on the horizon. And soon, it would reach its breaking point. By the time winter came, Angela and her children were walking on eggshells. Every creak outside the window at night, every laugh behind their backs in public, felt like a warning. Angela told herself she could take it, as long as her kids were safe. But then came the day when safety shattered. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Marcus was supposed to be home by 3 o'clock. By 4, he still hadn't arrived. Angela's chest tightened. By 5, the phone rang. It was the school nurse. "Ms. Williams, your son has been hurt. You need to come immediately." Angela dropped everything and rushed to the school. When she entered the office, she froze. Marcus sat on the chair, his lips split, his eyes swelling shut, his shirt torn, blood stained his collar. Angela gasped, falling to her knees. "Baby, what happened?" Marcus's voice cracked with humiliation. "They cornered me in the locker room. They called me names, pushed me, hit me. I tried to walk away, but they wouldn't stop." Angela turned to the principal, rage boiling in her chest. "Who did this? Where are the boys responsible?" The principal shifted uncomfortably. "It was just a fight between students. Boys will be boys. We don't want to escalate this unnecessarily." Angela's voice rose. "A fight? My son is bleeding. He could have been killed, and you call it a fight?" But the principal avoided her eyes. "Maybe Marcus needs to learn how to fit in better. Sometimes differences create tension." Angela's fists clenched. fit in. Her son had to bleed to be accepted. She stormed out, her arm wrapped protectively around Marcus. She drove straight to the police station, her voice trembling with fury as she told the officer what happened. But the officer barely glanced at his report. Kids fight. Happens all the time. Unless you've got evidence, there's nothing we can do. Maybe if Marcus tried harder to get along with his classmates, this wouldn't happen. Angela stared in disbelief. Evidence? My child's face is the evidence. You don't see the bruises, the blood? You don't hear his pain? The officer shrugged. Ma'am, I suggest you calm down. Getting emotional won't help. Angela's breath caught. Emotional. Her child was attacked, and the system that was supposed to protect him was protecting his attackers instead. That night she sat on the couch with Marcus and Jasmine asleep beside her. She stared at the cracked front door, the broken glass they had patched weeks earlier, the bruises on her son's face, and for the first time, Angela felt hopeless. She whispered into the dark, God, I am trying. I am fighting, but how much more can we take? Her heart broke when Jasmine stirred in her sleep, murmuring, Mama, don't let them hurt Marcus again. Angela pressed her hand to her daughter's forehead, tears streaming down her face. The next day, Marcus didn't want to go to school. Why should I, Mom? They don't want me there. The teachers don't care. The police don't care. Why keep trying? Angela had no answer. For the first time, her strength faltered. She wanted to tell her children to pack their things, to run far away, to disappear. But something inside her whispered, if you leave now, hatred wins. Angela didn't know it yet, but change was coming, and it would begin with unexpected allies who had been watching all along. Angela woke up the next morning with swollen eyes from a night of silent crying. She looked at Marcus's bruised face and Jasmine's restless sleep and thought, I can't let this be their story. I won't let hate write the ending for us. When she dropped Marcus off at school, she held his shoulders firmly. Listen to me, son. They want you to feel broken. They want you to stop believing in yourself. Don't you dare give them that victory. You are strong. You are smart. You will rise. Marcus nodded weakly, but Angela could see doubt clouding his eyes. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. As Angela walked into the grocery store, two women approached her. She stiffened, expecting another cold stare. But instead, one of them, Mrs. Parker, a white teacher from the school, spoke softly. Ms. Williams, I saw what happened to Marcus. I tried to speak up at the staff meeting, but no one listened. I want you to know, not everyone in this town agrees with what's being done to your family. Angela blinked, surprised. The second woman, an elderly neighbor named Mrs. Thompson, added, I've lived here 40 years, and I've seen too many families like yours pushed out. I regret staying silent before. I won't stay silent anymore. For the first time, Angela felt something she hadn't in months. Support. That evening, word began to spread. A small group of parents gathered outside the school, holding handwritten signs. Justice for Marcus. Stop the hate. Angela stood in shock as more cars pulled up. People she had never spoken to, black, white, Latino, came forward, saying they were tired of watching injustice repeat itself. The principal, who once dismissed Marcus's pain, suddenly found himself under pressure. The police chief, faced with the news reporters, could no longer ignore Angela's cries. The next week, the boys who attacked Marcus were suspended. For once, Angela saw accountability. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't enough, but it was a start. Marcus's confidence slowly returned. He stood taller, walked into school without lowering his eyes, and even told his mom one night, maybe I really can be a lawyer one day. to fight for kids like me. Angela hugged him tightly, whispering, "Yes, baby, you will. You'll be the change they're afraid of." And little Jasmine, she began drawing again, not just rainbows, but people of every shade holding hands under those rainbows. One evening she showed Angela her picture and said, "See, Mama? This is how the world should look." Angela's heart swelled. For all the pain they had endured, her children had not lost their vision of a better world. Months later, when spring arrived, Angela stood outside her house, the same house that once carried threats and hatred. But now, she saw something new. Neighbors waved as they passed. Children called Marcus's name to join their basketball game. Jasmine was invited to a friend's birthday party. It wasn't a perfect ending. Prejudice still lingered, and Angela knew the fight was far from over. But the silence had been broken. The walls of hate had cracked. Angela looked at her children and thought, "This is why we endured. So they could know that even in the darkest times, light is possible." As she tucked Jasmine into bed that night, her daughter asked, "Mama, why do some people hate us?" Angela paused, then answered gently, "Because they don't understand. Because they're afraid of what's different. But here's the secret, baby. Love is stronger than fear. And one day, love always wins." Angela kissed her daughter's forehead, whispering a promise not just to Jasmine, but to every child who would ever face the weight of prejudice. They can try to break us, but we will rise. We will keep rising. And that, in the end, is the lesson. Hatred is loud, but love is louder. Racism wounds, but courage heals. And sometimes, the strongest revolution begins with a mother who refuses to give up on her children's future.